Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We stream live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom. What's good people? Hope everyone had a fantastic Easter weekend. I do. Today, coming up, we've got Mailbag Monday. It's supposed to be Friday, but it's Monday. All good. A ton of questions surrounding the NFL draft. We'll get to some scenarios, potential day 2 picks, potential Bijan Robinson picks. Plus, in the roundup, we got 2 more names the Cowboys are bringing in on the 30 visit list, right? And they're big names. They're names that could be a sneaky option at 26. And one of the names that I'm going to talk about probably isn't the one you're thinking of, but I think he's a sneaky option. So stick around for that, man. Hey, look, I apologize. I hope y'all had a great weekend, but I apologize for Friday. Friday morning pretty much was a tipping point, y'all, that it's time for me to invest in the supercomputer. This PC has done this, a great job. It's kind of an entry level PC in regards to what I do, but I do way too much editing and streaming for entry level. So the investment to a supercomputer is on its way. I'm going to figure out how we want to get that done. I might even reach out to y'all for that as well. So just keep your ears and eyes plugged to that. All right. The Ravens did some upgrading too, though. I don't know if y'all saw that. Odell Beckham to the Ravens. $15 million up to $18 million to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think the Cowboys are ever going to be in the field of up to $18 million for one Odell Beckham Jr. No way, no how. So I think the Cowboys got the better deal getting Cooks, paying him what he's paying. So I'm not tripping about that, man. But well, maybe we'll talk about that if you guys want to call in. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. Christopher Gillis. See, I don't know about all the specs, but I appreciate you dropping that. Usually what I do is I do some research. I go into Best Buy. I say, hey, man, this is what I need. I do a lot of editing. I do a lot of streaming. I need the best of the best possible. Problem is that costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully this can hold it down for the time being. And then by the time we get to the middle of the summer, we're back and we're flowing, and even better because I want to keep adding to this thing, man. I want to keep being a super producer. I want to keep doing things over on the volume side as well, and it's going to require an upgrade. That's all it is, man. It's going to require an upgrade. All right. With that said, let's hit this roundup. Talk about the 2 prospects, and then we're gonna get into the mailbag. Pretty easy day today. Today was supposed to be Friday's show, but we couldn't come Friday, so here we are Monday. So let's get busy.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. Cowboys brought in Big Darnell Washington, huh? Yes, indeedy. He is one of the 2 big names added to the 30 visit list. And the Cowboys are pretty close to rounding that 30 visit list out. According to my guy, KD Drummond, I believe they're at about 29. So, and a lot of these guys are top 100 dudes. Obviously, looking at some dudes that are considered outside the top 100, that's how they are able to sign undrafted guys and draft 6th, 7th round guys. And remember, we did this project last week. The Cowboys drafted or signed 5 players from the 30 visit list. So I don't know how it works for any other team. But if you are brought in by the Dallas Cowboys, it's a high chance that you could be a Dallas Cowboy. So we got to keep an eye on that. And Darnell Washington is one of them. Let's put a pin, though, in Darnell Washington, because I want to talk about him later on in the show when we have a question regarding Darnell Washington in the mailbag. But this guy here, Drew Sanders, linebacker, pass rusher out of Arkansas by way of Alabama. Sneaky option at 26, right? Here's why I wonder. I'm not saying he's going to be the pick, but I wonder if he's a sneaky option at 26 in the same way that LVE was in 2018. Okay. Dallas already had a young athletic linebacker in Jalen Smith back in 2018. And they also had a hurt guy, veteran, in Sean Lee. And kind of out of nowhere, Dallas took Leighton Vander Esch. Now, it happened to work out because Sean Lee got hurt again, and Leighton Vander Esch went on to have a all-pro year, and Leighton and Jalen kind of for 2 years became those guys at the linebacker position. This year, LVE isn't quite Sean Lee, but he is a hurt guy. And he's on a cheap 2-year deal that they can get out of if they want to after this season. So, and we talked about this linebacker room. It's really not deep. And then behind LVE is Damone Clark, who is that young linebacker opposite of LVE. But again, I think linebacker is a sneaky need in general. So who could be a sneaky pick early? Drew Sanders, man. They bringing him in. They like the versatility. One thing that we can all agree on about Dan Quinn is he likes you to be versatile. He likes you to be able to do multiple things. And Drew Sanders can rush the passer. Drew Sanders can play the linebacker position. I do think he has it from an IQ standpoint. And maybe he could be your LVE replacement if it doesn't work out for one. Because if LVE doesn't work out this year or he's okay, and they say, hey, man, we love the athleticism of Drew and what Clark can bring in the future, maybe they look to move on from him. But if LVE is great, right? Cool. You get him again for another cheap deal. It still shocks me when I go look at LVE's contract, by the way. Still shocks me. To me, this tells you how the league feels about him. 2-year, $8 million deal. His cap hits are only $3 million this year, 4.7 next year. So he's relatively cheap. But if he gets hurt again, or if he regresses, you can move on and save $2.5 million with the $2.2 million dead cap hit. So it's an extremely team-friendly contract, but it's also a contract that I do not think stops you from drafting a linebacker wherever the Cowboys really want to. But it's a position we don't really talk about much. But bringing in Drew Sanders and then Trent Simpson, you know, there's guys in that top 50, top 60, top 70 that the Cowboys are interested in. So they're telling us, don't forget about linebacker. Don't forget about linebacker. And I know Danny just called. He's probably about to talk about Jack Campbell and all these other guys. They're also possibilities. Yes, they're also possibilities as well. And the Clemson backer that we talked about last week that was brought in. Here's the thing about the Clemson backer and Drew Sanders. If you really want to find the breadcrumbs, both of those guys offer pass rush ability. Could be something that the Cowboys are looking into. All right. We got a super chat by Towboat Ty.
Super chat.
Appreciate you, Towboat. He said, if the Cowboys spent $18 million on everyone, on Odell Beckham, everyone in the sports world would have flipped. The Ravens do it and nobody bats an eye. Nobody bats an eye. Shout out to the Joker. Glad we passed on that. I think circumstances matter. I think context matters. The Ravens, they need a guy like that, right? The Ravens haven't paid for or went out and got a guy like Odell. So for me, I get it. You know, I don't think the Cowboys are going to do it. I'm not going to, come at the Ravens for spending money on the potential of Odell Beckham because they need a guy like that. I heard a stat this morning on Get Up that if How long it's been? Maybe ever. I can't remember the time frame. But if Odell Beckham were to make a Pro Bowl, he would be the first Pro Bowl wide receiver, not kick return wise, that the Ravens have had ever. I mean, they're a fairly new franchise, 1995, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, have they ever had a Pro Bowl wide receiver? Not because of kick return? I can't remember the date that Greeny said, but they haven't had one in a while. So Odell Beckham would be the first guy that they would have had from a wide receiver standpoint if he was a go. So it is ever crazy, you know? So that's why I understand why they're spending that money. And they also are trying to keep, I would imagine, they're trying to keep LBJ, Lamar Jackson. They're trying to keep Lamar Jackson so they can say, hey, look, we got you a guy that you can throw to here in these key moments, and he's a former Pro Bowler, et cetera, et cetera. So I ain't mad at it. So was never. That's wild. That is wild. Bolden made a Pro Bowl, but I don't believe for them. Yeah, I don't believe for them. All right, so we got 5 questions. Not. There's a few of them in there that aren't anything crazy, but there are a few that I want to dive into. So before we dive into these questions, Cowboys Nation, let's hit the phone lines real quick. And let's talk about this draft here. Let's get Danny. I know Danny wanted to call in. I'm pretty sure you're going to call in to talk about Jack Campbell, aren't you?
Eventually. First, I want to say good morning.
Good
eventually,
morning.
I'll get to Jack Campbell. Good
That's
morning.
your guy.
Just real quick, I don't even know if he was a 30 visit, though. I don't think so.
I haven't seen any reports, no.
Yeah, me neither. So
that doesn't rule him out, though, right? Like he could still be a guy. The Cowboys didn't visit with Tyler Smith, so.
Okay, so I mean, I just think if you at 26, if you could get LB number 1, that's great value. So let's just switch over to Darnell Washington. In my opinion, this is the deepest tight end and running back draft in like the last 10, 15 years. Why are we going to go tight end in the first round when a lot of people are predicting Darnell Washington is going to be an offensive tackle in 4 years? That's not me. I didn't just make this up when I read the comics this morning. Just like Jason Peters was a tight end at Arkansas in college, and he transitioned to offensive tackle. And I'm also going to make a predicament that Coach Prime, he's going to be our next coach in 5 years. So when we draft Darnell Washington, when Prime comes over to Dallas, then he'll be an offensive tackle. I just don't see the value. But we spoke about this last week. Big Mike, he likes those big 6'7" tight ends. So could I see Darnell Washington in play? Absolutely. Drew Sanders, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, give me an opinion.
I think he's too light to bang in between the offensive tackles for the run game.
Too light?
Where Jack Campbell, he's too light in the ass to play middle linebacker between the offensive tackles for the running game. You want to put him outside, play all fancy stuff, rush the passer? Yes.
Does he?
He can do that.
What's his? I thought he was like he was above 240. What's his playing weight? Unless you mean like his play style is too light.
Listen, if he checked in, he doesn't look like he played at 240. Look at his build. There's even a lot of other guys I don't like their build. He looks like a giant. He looks like a giant. If you put
what,
88 on his jersey,
6'5", 2. I think it goes like 6'5", 2 something. Here we go. Let's see here.
You can't go by those numbers, Sky, because Cansey from Pitt, he was 5'10" in college, and he showed up 6'1", 6'2" at the combine. You know, it's crazy. The kid grew 3 inches.
No. Yeah, I don't look at the team stuff. So okay, 6'4", 235. Yeah. So he's about where Dan Quinn draft these guys. You know.
I know, but I just think if you threw an 88 jersey on him, he would look like a tweener between a big wide receiver and an undersized tight end.
Oh, no, bro. I'm talking about Drew Sanders, brother. I'm talking about Drew Sanders. I'm still going off for Drew Sanders because you said he's light in the butt. And, I mean, 235.
Yeah, I think he's light in the butt.
That's about normal nowadays, man. You don't see too many 6'5", 260-pound linebackers no more in this league.
I notice I'm just comparing him mostly to Jack Campbell because Campbell's 6'5", 250.
Gotcha.
And beside the 40, which he ran a respectable time, he was like top 3 in every other drill at the combine. You know. So listen, but like I said, there's a lot of. We'll go back to day 3, Danny, real quick before I land the plane. There's the kid. There's the kid D. Winters from TCU. He's a beast. There's another kid, Jalen Graham from Purdue. These are late guys. I gotta go look at my notes. Boston College, has a kid super late, probably an undrafted free agent. You know what I'm trying to say? Let's think about this. Overall, this is a pretty weak linebacker class. This is a very weak linebacker class. Which is
why you see them looking at a Drew Sanders and looking at a Trent Simpson, because those guys are top, 50, 60 guys that are likely going to go in the first day or two. So that's probably why they brought those guys in.
I'm not a fan of Trent Simpson because I think if you put him on a pit,
Danny don't like anybody. If you are rated in the first 3 rounds, Danny don't like you. Danny said, "Give me all the day 3 dudes on my team."
No, trust me.
Danny, I have not found a day 1 top 50 prospect you like. This is serious. Every guy that we've talked about that has been a top 50 guy.
I just said Jack Campbell.
You're right. Jack Campbell, you're right. Because everybody else, boy, I tell you, man.
I joke around, but I call up and like I said, I gave you Ali Gay last year, but look at his 2021 tape. He was nicked up 2022. I give you day 3 guys and day 4 guys because just for me, I think day 1, day 2, day 3, that's easy. You know what I'm trying to say? That's easy, in my opinion, in my eyes. That should be easy.
If it was easy, everybody would be hitting on their first 3 picks every year. No, so it's not that easy.
But like Foch says, a lot of teams suck at drafting.
Which shows you that it's not that easy, though.
No, but just because, as my father would say, just because somebody has money doesn't mean they're smart.
Fam, if let's say there's 5 quality drafting teams in the league. If 27 other teams aren't great drafting in the first 3 rounds, to me that says it's hard.
Okay, but every year, does 10 general managers and about 10 general coaches get fired on average?
No.
No?
Yeah, 10 general managers don't get fired every year. Danny, what are you talking about? Maybe coaches. I don't even know if 10 get fired, but
I'm just saying like between 7-ish and 10-ish. I'm bad at math. What can I tell you?
Sure.
Unless I collect. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's around
Professor Rowe, a lot of fans suck at drafting too. That's facts, Professor Rowe. Wonderfully put. We always talk about teams suck at drafting. But here's the thing. With fans, we can't go back and grade your drafts. Not you, Danny, but just fans in general. With teams, we can. But you're absolutely right, Professor Rowe. Fans suck at drafting as well.
Well, there's a lot of people, because there's people that just they look at the TV on ESPN and they see a name. If I hear Bijan's name again, I'm going to go jump off the George Washington Bridge.
Wow, he's a fantastic player.
His name. Because there's at least 5 other. There's at least 10 other running backs do what he does, and if I can get a running back in the 3rd round that can do what Bijan does in the 1st round, that's a hell of a lot of value.
Sure, but you haven't said a single good thing about. Is Bijan Robinson a fantastic player?
You think Bijan's better than Izzy from Pitt?
Oh my gosh, Danny, is Bijan Robinson a fantastic player?
Fantastic player.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not to argue. I'm going to say yes. Let me ask you a question.
I'm convinced
on a scale
you
of
just
1
hate
to
day
10,
1 guys. I'm convinced.
This is my last question. You know I love you. Rashawn Johnson, his backup, who's probably going to be a 3rd round pick.
I like him too.
How many more? Me too. We both do. We can agree on that. That's awesome. How many steps down the ladder do you think Rashawn Johnson is?
That you're changing everything up. You said you're getting tired of people talking about Bijan. You're tired of hearing his name. And the reason why I asked you that question is because you're hearing his name because he's really freaking good. He's one of the top prospects in the NFL draft. That's why you're hearing his name, Danny. And it seems like anybody that is considered a day one or possibly day two pick, you like, man, screw them. You got like 3 guys you like that are in the top like 100. It feels like, man. Everybody else, you're willing to draft in day 3, 4, 5 of the draft. Undrafted free agents, Danny.
There's a million O linemen I like. I want to take that back. I can say a million. I love Roger Jones. If he slipped to 18, I would love for them to go up and get him. There's a million guys, but there's a lot of guys I just don't think would go to Dallas. So I don't want to be like these fantasy Madden people that be like, oh, I want all these top 5 picks at 26. I'm just trying to be realistic. If Project Jones slid to 18, I would say Dallas trade up and get him. So I just don't throw out a lot of top names. I spoke about Parisi. He was the first. He's a first rounder in my opinion. So, but I do tend to go towards the later rounds.
Oh,
that's my specialty.
Day 3, Danny.
You know what I'm trying to say? I like to throw a little bit of, we throw a little bit of this, a little bit of that to the show. But I hope you got a new computer. I need a new computer too. My iPad and Gmail's not that great.
Man, these
can we do a welfare check on?
What's up?
Very expensive. It's like buying a car. It's like buying a car today. Yo, can we do like a welfare check on Marv? I don't think we've heard from him for like a week. You know what I'm trying to say?
I think he called in last. I think he called in Vacha's show. I think last week. But yeah, we got to get Marv.
All right, good. All right, good man, good. Great to hear you. Right. Great to hear you, boys. Glad you had a good weekend.
Yes, sir.
And looking to lock with you. 316 Mafia? Did I say it right this time?
Yep.
316. Listen. Good. Listen to hear you later on. Talk to you later. Thanks,
salute.
Guy.
Danny don't like those day one guys, man. Danny got about 3 day one guys he like. Breesy, he considers Jack Campbell day one. And that lineman from Broderick Jones. You bring up anybody else in the top 50, screw him. Hey, man, that's why we call him day 3 Danny, man. I heard from D Schiff in a minute. What's good, D Schiff?
Hey, what's going on, Scott?
What's up with you, brother?
Not much, man. Old Danny, man. Only thing I gotta kind of disagree with Danny's mindset is, I mean, if you look at our past drafts and you think about the players that really matter on this team, you've got them from the first and second round. So while we've been kind of trained and conditioned to be pet cat kind of guys,
yeah.
Like, we've been kind of turned away from picking the obvious because it's like, I want to pick the guy that nobody else is looking at, to, kind of show our draft expertise and whatnot, whether it be fans or the national media. So that's just kind of, I feel like where, how deep this analysis and coverage of the draft, I think that's what it's kind of brought us to as fans and the way we want it covered,
Yeah.
Because it can get kind of old talking about those top 30 prospects that are going to be the surefire Hall of Famers versus, the guys that get picked in the 3rd, 4th round. So while it happens, while it happens, you find Hall of Famers in the later rounds. There's a lot of guys who come out those 1st and 2nd rounds. So I feel like the one thing about, I want to ask you a question, man. And I think with the pick 26, I feel like what guy that you drafted, in your opinion, will be the best pound for pound player, so to say, that's kind of at that level? Kind of a simple question, but I think in the analysis of when everybody has what they want to draft, whether it's linebacker or some people are comfortable picking a tight end and some people aren't. Who do you think would be when you look back at it, it's going to be like, dang, we should kind of got that guy?
Oof. Saying if we passed on him, like a TJ Watt situation.
Yeah, because we're in a situation where we, there's so many picks, you can kind of you have kind of exactly TJ Watt situation.
Yeah.
You have the option to pick a player that's going to add to some unit, right? I'm just kind of in the mindset, hopefully, and I'm sure they are too. I'm sure everybody, they want to get right for the team versus they're not really in a position to have to draft someone of need. But there's multiple needs that I feel like once you add that player, it's not it's not going to be a need anymore, right? But you want to get the pound for pound best guy. So who do you think is going to be looking back at it? He can have the chance to be like a top 5 player at this position.
Man, that's so
if you
hard,
draft a wide receiver, it's 2-3 years from now, is he going to be up there with the Jamar Chases, whoever you got in your top 5?
That's so hard, man. I honestly am not going to lie to you. I don't have a specific name. I don't view anybody the Cowboys potentially take at 26 as one of those type of guys. Now I hope they will be, right? Like that, whoever they pick, I hope they turn into a top 5, top 10 player at their position when it's all said and done. But I don't, at 26, I don't feel good about any of those. It sounds crazy. It sounds like I'm saying these dudes ain't going to pan out. That's not what I'm saying. Because if I draft a guy in the first round, he's not a top 10.
It's hard to get in that circle.
At 26, it is.
That circle,
If we talking,
when we was picking teams.
If we talking, we was picking in a Micah draft at 10. Now we're having a different conversation. But at 26, I don't know who the hell is going to be a top 10 player, top 5 player at the position, man. I'm not even going to lie to you and try. I know that's terrible radio, but there's many players.
Were around where CD was picked and LVE was picked, obviously looking at it, CD has a chance to kind of get in that. Yeah. I think he's definitely in that top 10 circle, but I think in that top 5, he's still.
And that's 8 to.
But LVE, he's not even like in the top 30, top.
No, he's not a top 10 linebacker, yeah. And those were 8 to 9 picks, earlier. So the Cowboys were picking at 17 or 18. You're talking about maybe a Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, falls in that area. Maybe, one of the top receivers gets there and we can have that conversation. But man, you picking at 26. It's just
because and that's the thing about the lottery, right? It's not guaranteed, but it's just like you have.
I ain't sounding like you, Danny.
Huh?
No, Danny said it sounded like him.
Oh yeah. No, but I totally understand what you're saying, man. Because it's like I say, it's hard to get in that circle. Because at that point, you're talking about being the best at your position, and at any given 2-3 year span. So I was just kind of curious, or I just overall want to get a guy who can get, I guess, in that top 10. Now, if you can get a top 5, obviously that's going to be everybody missed on that, kind of like people missing on Micah being as good as he was going to be. So just a quick question for you today, man. And also, man, quick, I'm worried about the O-line coach, man. I've been kind of hearing a lot of rumblings.
I saw you put that in chat.
And
what you worried about? What am I missing?
It's more hearsay, man. It's just kind of certain insiders, you hear them talking, and they talk a lot. But I've heard like them talk about the O-line coach being more like a good old boy hire. Like he's part of Mike's crew, and when he did that with Mike Nolan, I don't know.
All right, let me try to ease your mind here. I don't think that's the case. He only worked with Mike McCarthy for 1 year, so it's not like he worked with Mike McCarthy forever. And look, coaches are going to hire guys that they have some type of relationship with. Sometimes, like that, if you look across the league, that's going to happen. But if you look at Mike Solari's resume, I think that should make you feel a little good, man. He has a really good resume throughout his career. Now he's old. If there was a drawback, it's my man been around since Landry, so that tells you how old he is. But if you go back and look at his time in Kansas City, his time in San Fran, and his most recent time in Seattle, especially given what he had in Seattle, I think you'd come away with, okay, this guy can actually coach up offensive linemen and has a scheme. Whereas, who did we have before, which was his buddy, by the way? Joe Philbin.
You had a couple guys.
Joe Philbin. I'm talking about
Philbin, yeah.
Joe Philbin was Mike McCarthy's guy. That's a Mike McCarthy guy, right? Those dudes, they coached together for quite some time. They coached, I believe, Super Bowl, all that stuff, right? Solari's not. He coached with him for a year, but that ain't his guy. But Solari has been around the league with schemes and successful run games, and I think I would feel much better about Solari than the Philbin hire. So just trying to ease your mind here. I don't necessarily think it's a good old boy hire.
That's good. But that's good. That's good, man. That's good news. Because I mean, with everything we're trying to overcome, I don't need that. And our offensive plate. I think they'll turn it around for sure. With the weapons they're adding and just overall, like just with Kellen, man, that was bad. I mean, the more and more that people kind of come out, the Mike Martins of the world, it was just bad. So we should turn it around offensively. This narrative on Dak being turnover prone just because of a couple years, and I don't even think it's not like Barn left with 30 interceptions, right? So, but that's good. All right, man.
Appreciate the shift.
I'm gonna holler at you, bro.
Salute. That's a good question. I think I might have to do some digging on. Who would you guys say would be one of those? I hate to use the word TJ Watt type because TJ Watt's considered like one of the best. But who would you consider a guy? I saw Danny bring up Brian Breesy. I ain't gonna lie to you, that was a name that kind of popped in my head. I'm just so worried about, is he going to be the Brian Breesy of old or the current Brian Breesy? A guy that if the Cowboys pass on, you say, man, we should have drafted that dude. There's so many players at 26. I mean, if the question was, how many players do you think the Cowboys would be in the running for at 26? Me and Vosh talked about it. We think there's a couple dozen that if you took at 26, we'll be happy with. But if you change the question to, hey, man, who do you think at 26 could be a potential top 10 player at their position? I don't know. That's hard to crack. You know what I'm saying? That's hard to crack. And we're not picking in the top 10 to 12 to 15 where some of those guys are those top blue chip type of dudes will be. So who would you say? I agree, Toxic. It's hard to answer that. I know what you meant, D-Shift. I know what you meant. Brian Breesy was Danny's name. Mozzie Smith. You don't think Mozzie makes it to 58? What's good, Marcelo? Todd says Zay Flowers has a chance to be that guy, but who knows? I thought about Zay in my head as well, but look, top 10 wide receivers are hard. Bro, if you go look at the last 3 drafts, right? 2020, 2021, 2022, you probably got a handful of top 10 guys out of those drafts alone. So who at 26 is going to crack that? It's tough. Good question though. I might have to bring that. Bring that up later. I want to see if Vach has an answer to that. It's a good question. All right, let's get to the mailbag segment and kind of go through these. Look, there's 5 of them, maybe like 3 of them I really want to spend a lot of time on, but the other 2 are kind of fun questions. So here we go.
It's time. It's time. It is time for Mail Time. The mail's here. You've got mail.
Here we go. Shout out to the Lunatic, one of the day ones. Can't see me right now, but I'm throwing the ones in the air. Shout out to the Usos. How far back do you think the Cowboys feel comfortable trading down where they may not lose out on a plug-and-play left guard they like? Well, to be honest, as long as they don't trade out of the first 3 rounds, I think they can get a plug-and-play guard that they like. But if you're talking about round 1, I think you can technically trade. If you were saying, hey, we're going to trade out of round 1 to get a guard in round 2, you can do that. So I think you can find a plug and play guy in the top 3 rounds. So, and maybe in the 4th round. I'm pretty 10 toes on guard being a fairly, I hate to use the word easy, man. Nothing easy about football, but being one of those positions that can translate a little better than a tackle or center or quarterback or corner, things like that. especially if you can be in between Tyler and Tyler, meaning Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz. I feel like you're in a comfortable position. Tyler Biadasz, he knows his offense. He's going into his 4th year. He can kind of help you out from that aspect, where Tyler Smith, look, your duo blocks are going to be fantastic because he's a mauler. He's a beast, and he's also a smart young player as well. So whoever they throw in at left guard in the top 3 to 4 rounds, I think can be plug and play. So as long as they don't completely go out of the top 3 rounds, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. Crooked Soul had a question. He said, if Bijan miraculously falls to 26 and the boys draft him, do you think they'll give him the 22 jersey number? Has anyone had 22 in a minute? I don't think anyone has had 22 since Emmett. So, but boy, that would be the one, wouldn't it? That would be the one. If they didn't give Zeke 22, though, I don't think they're going to give Bijan 22. And Zeke was drafted at 4. Bijan will be drafted at 26. And yes, Laura King, I just hit you with the Blues Clues. So, you know what? I'm going to say, nah, I don't think they'll do it. If they didn't give it to Zeke, they're not going to give it to Bijan. But see, Bijan with the Texas, you never know. Jerry, it's towards the end. He liked to do things to get the marketing going. And maybe he'll say, look, man, Bijan, you rock this 22. We had the top jersey sales in all of Texas. But I don't think he'll do it. No. Jeffrey Milby, and then we'll save the other 2 once we get to the phone lines. Jeffrey Milby says, would it be wise to trade this year's second for Hopkins? Or is that too high for a guy with that mileage on him and use the second to draft a need? So this is interesting that you asked this question after they acquired Brandon Cooks. Look, if there was a year to trade a 2 for a guy like Hopkins, this would be a great year. I don't. Who in the second round are you drafting that's going to be better than DeAndre Hopkins in the next 2 years? Nobody, right? So, hell yeah, you trade your second for DeAndre Hopkins. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to do that, especially since they got Cooks. But I'll play along with the question. Yes, I think it'd be wise to trade your second for DeAndre Hopkins. Jeremy thinks Hopkins is going to get released. So does Mark. That would be wild. Look, you cannot just release this dude. This isn't a malcontent. This is a quality veteran. Now his money is an issue, but at the very least, I would take back some of that money to get me a, second, third round pick or a combination of a 4th, 5th, next year's whatever. I'm taking back bread, because if y'all ready to move on, you're ready to move on. That's one thing, but you don't just move on for literally nothing. That'd be malpractice from a front office standpoint if they cut DeAndre Hopkins. Absolutely terrible. But yeah, I would 100% trade a second round pick for DeAndre. Man, I would have did that before they got Brandon Cooks, All right, let's get Lamont on the horn. What's good, Lamont?
Hey, so Scott, I actually have a guy who I want to mention that I think, if he got picked at 26, I would kind of be like, damn, man, I wish we would have went the other way.
Who you think?
So everybody keeps saying Will McDonald, but man, you know what? I kind of like Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame a little bit more than I like him.
He's got the production. I mean, Will got the production as well, but Foskey recently had a better year.
Yeah, but Foskey also is the all-time leader in Notre Dame sacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got the production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely.
And he's also got the length. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, he's got the length, the size. He's got the physicality, the skill set. He's got a good pass rail move. I think with him, I would be upset if they went McDonald over him, because I feel like with him, yeah, I feel like with him, I feel like you're getting more of a sure thing. Like with TJ and Taco, remember, everybody kept saying, well, we don't know because we don't know where we could play him, and he does have these high amount of production, but, Taco, he seems like, he has the higher ceiling. That's what they kept saying, but I would rather go with what is more of a sure thing.
Who was saying that shit?
Get, Foskey.
Man, you
remember though, that's how it was.
You put on that tape of T.J. Watt and Taco Charlton, fan. I don't even think it was close. Just based off. It
wasn't even close.
Just based off of their skill set, but T.J. was still. I think it was He converted over, and I think Taco had he had super production. I think that last year. But anyway, between Foskey and McDonald. I don't know why you'd be upset. McDonald's a fantastic edge with an incredible high upside. He had 34 sacks in his career at Iowa State, or in his college career. So it's not like he doesn't have the production as well. I am leaning on the word upset. You said I'd be upset if they took him over Foskey. Look, Foskey has a production, but again, when you put on the tape and you say I'm going to eliminate the numbers and watch these two play. How do you come away that Will McDonald can't at least be what you believe what Foskey is? Like, what makes Foskey, from a talent standpoint, so much better than Will McDonald that you'd be upset that they didn't take him?
So I feel like this with Foskey. I feel like he could contribute right away because he already has grown man size. He's bigger than DeMarcus Lawrence as far as overall measurables. But
see, this is exactly what they did to T.J. Watt. Do you hear what you're saying right now? This is what they did to TJ.
No,
they said TJ didn't have the size, and he was a bit of a tweener, and Taco was bigger because he was, and you sounded like Taco TJ all over again. Just let you know that.
But at the same time, I also did mention that Foskey doesn't have to learn as much as Taco did when he came in. Because you remember Taco, he had to learn pass rush moves and stuff like that. He really just did not pan out very well. As far as linebackers, when you were talking about Drew Sanders, I have thought about that, and I wouldn't be upset with that pickup either. When Danny said he's a little light in the butt, Danny's bugging, man, because Drew, if you can play in the SEC against those big boys that are 350, 320 and stuff like that, dude, believe me, you can play in the NFL. But, I ain't really have much to say, Scott. That's all I just wanted to say, brother. I wanted you to have a good morning, and, God bless everybody.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
All right, brother.
I think Foskey is the next guy that we'll probably talk about over on Vacha's show. I like Will McDonald better, but from a production standpoint, yeah, Foskey absolutely had the production. Like, there's no doubt about it. But man, I don't look, Lamar. I say go back, take a look at Will again. I think you come away like, look, I ain't gonna be upset if they take Will McDonald over Foskey, dog. I think you'd be fine. I meant to ask him, why does he think Foskey would play right away over Will? I think they'd be in the same boat. Whatever pass rusher the Cowboys take in the top 3 or 4 rounds, if they take one, I will be in the same boat. There are going to be guys that come in and are part of the rotation. They're likely not going to start because you got your Dorrance Armstrong, you got your DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Sam Williams, Dante. Like, you're set from a rotational standpoint. So whoever they add, it's just going to be a part of that rotation. So yeah, man. I'm on the other side. I think Will McDonald would be. I'd be happy as hell they took him. All right, so we're getting these phone lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're getting these phone lines starting to jam up a bit. Here's what we'll do. Let's jump back into the mailbag, finish these last 2 questions, and then we'll get back to these lines. So Darius Woods, shout out to D Woods. Phone 1 right here. What is your top 5 NFC quarterback ranking? Top 5 NFC quarterback rank. So, obviously, Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. I don't care what you want to do with the top 2. You can flip them. You can whatever you want. Those are your top 2 guys in the NFC. And Hurts, because of what he did, right? Hurts, you obviously have to see consistency. There's one year that Hurts was this good, and you want to see him be more consistent. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but how do you not value what he did going to the Super Bowl, and then he played well in the Super Bowl? And I get it. He wasn't great prior to that in the playoffs, but it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt and put him up there in the top 2 with Dak Prescott. So I got Dak and I got Jalen Hurts as your top 2. Look, you could talk about Geno Smith, but it's 1 year, and I know what Sky just said about Jalen Hurts. I would need to see a bit more from Geno. Geno been around for so long, and he had kind of a what's the cat from the Raiders? Rich Gannon type. He had a Rich Gannon type of year where out of nowhere he's fantastic, but he's usually a backup type of guy. So I just can't vault Geno Smith in there. I just can't do it. You could argue Matt Stafford, Murray, and Goff could round out the top 5, and I would not argue. I wouldn't sit here and fight you on that. You could swap Goff for Cousins. They don't really do much for me. They're kind of similar type of dudes. I cannot put Fields in the top 5. Great runner, good arm. He's still learning the position. He hasn't really broken out yet from a quarterback standpoint. So I'm not going to go Fields. I'm not going to put Geno up there. Not going to put Carr up there. And I think you're basically fighting for those last 3 spots between Stafford, Murray, Goff, and Cousins. Right? And obviously this is leaving out Rodgers. Rodgers is going to the Jets. That's happening. So I got Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, my top 2. And I'll go ahead, and this might be a bit, people might not like having Stafford, Murray, and Goff in the top 5, but I'm just not, I can't put Fields and Geno and Carr above those dudes right now. Kirk Cousins, you can maybe argue that, but look, man, it ain't like it. This ain't of old, man. This ain't Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers up there. So that's my top 5. I got Dak, I got Jalen, I got Stafford, Murray, Goff. Who would you take out of that to swap in? I'm curious. Yes, NFC, by the way. Toxic ass, how much do I value a 5th-year option? I value it for sure. I don't really want to trade out of the first round. We'll get into that. All right, so let me get to Grayson's question right here. Fun question. Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, Shea Rice, Darnell Washington, and Josh Downs are all available at 58. Who are you taking if Dallas gets either Avila or Bijan and plan to grab Mafi? A lot of moving parts right here. A lot of moving parts. So obviously you are, Grayson, you are in the mind frame. Let's load up this offense. We got the defense. Let's go get offensive guys. So if they're getting a Bijan Robinson, you eliminate Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, right? You don't need to take it back in round 2. So they're out of the picture. Also, if they're getting an Avila in the first round, I still wouldn't take it back in the second round because you're shoring up that offensive line, and we talk about it all the time. The running back class is pretty deep. I can get me a guy late day 2, day 3. So it really comes down to Rashee Rice, Darnell Washington, Josh Downs. I personally think that Darnell Washington would be the highest rated guy on the board. And that's pretty much where I would go. I would go with Darnell Washington, man. Look, you're talking about a 6'7" athletic behemoth freak, 270 pounds, runs a 4.6. And this ain't a guy that's a finesse runner either. He's not gonna be mistaken for no damn route running type of guy. He's a tank when he gets out in the open field. So, but I think he would be without a doubt your top rated guy on the board. And this is from a guy who I can care less about taking the tight end in round 1. You can maybe talk me into it in round 2, but early on, I'm fine passing on tight ends. But given this example, right, with the 2 running backs, Downs, Rice, and Washington being available, I don't even know that it's particularly close. I would go Darnell Washington. He come in immediately and ingratiate himself into that tight end room to be a part of that 12 personnel package. And he might even have a package of his own as he gets comfortable. But I think with a Ferguson and Washington combination, you'd have one hell of a nasty blocking duo. I went back and I was like, man, let me go look at a couple games where Jake Ferguson was just like a starter. And I wanted to watch him block a little bit. And I think he started like 2 games. And the one game he had the most snaps was against the Giants. And I think we forget, man, Jake Ferguson can get busy as a blocker, you know? And that's one of the things that makes the tight end position difficult to transition into because we get so caught up in the athlete part of tight end, right? The Pitts, the Ingrams, the Noah Fants of the worlds that you forget these dudes got to block, and they got to block a lot. And I think Jake Ferguson will be a fantastic and fine receiving tight end. He showed you some of that. He's got great hands. There's a lot of people that have this misconceived perception that Jake Ferguson can't go down the seam or go up and get the rock. I say go back and watch some of his tape in Wisconsin. You'll see him make a ton of fantastic catches, contested catches, aerial type catches, etc. He wasn't asked to do that in Dallas. But whoever the tight end is going to be in Dallas, whether it be as a tight end 1 or an inline tight end 2, they're going to be asked to do a lot of this type of blocking. And Darnell Washington, he brings something to this room that we talk about a lot over the last years. And that's a compliment. He compliments the room. Ferguson gives you that well-rounded type of guy. Hendershot gives you that move around type of guy. You can put him in the backfield. You can split him out. And then you got Darnell Washington, who gives you that athleticism that there's nobody in this draft that has that size, that blocking ability, and that the catch radius that's out of this world. So he literally brings something to the room that complements the room that you don't have. So when you ask me, Rashee Rice, Washington, or Downs, if those are the options, I'm going Darnell Washington, and I'm rolling. I think you get a really fun tight end room for the future. So that's who I got. Who y'all got in this situation? Spears, Bigsby, Rashee Rice, Washington, or Downs? Grande Poppy. So I don't know if y'all watch Lombardi. Shout out to my bro. His Patreon. He came up with the term wide guard for Noah Brown. Grande Poppy card Darnell, a tight tackle. I like it. He does more than Jelani. I think he's a much better prospect coming out. And I like Jelani Woods, but I think he's a better prospect coming out. Worry about OT and DT, can afford the luxury pick later. Can he perhaps block a tight end? Are we talking defense end? Are you talking about Washington? Yeah. Marky would go Downs. Big E would go Rice. Two Marks would go Downs. Well, I knew Shunja was taken. Shunja would trade up to go get Darnell Washington. Steve White, Washington. Lamont Washington. Jamison Downs. Captain America Washington. D. Schiff go Rice. Ugh. I don't know about Rice in the second round. I'm not a big fan. I'm just not a big fan of Rashee Rice. It gives me Jalen Tolbert vibes. Not really great at one particular thing. And can he come in here and is he going? That second round wide receiver, whoever it be. If I'm picking out of these two, I would go Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs brings something different to the room, or at least adds to what a Brandon Cooks is. I need somebody to talk me into Rashee. Big E thinks he's going to be one of the best in the draft. Actually, this is a lot more mixed than I thought it'd be. DJ called Rashee Noah Brown. Hey, DJ, you know what? You on the phone. Why you call Rashee Rice Noah Brown, DJ? Good morning, good sir.
Good morning. Good morning, first and foremost. How was it, Easter? Hope it's good. Got here late, so I don't know if you addressed that already.
No, I just saw your comment. I'm like, you know what? Perfect. Let me bring DJ up in here. What's up with you?
Hey, well, number one, Rashee Rice, fantastic blocker. Yeah, solid, just all-around wide receiver, but there's nothing that he does that is next level. I mean, literally down to the dreads, the man is Noah Brown. But that's the reason I said that. Of that pick, I mean, that's not like a second-round conversation, honestly. Like, if you're picking in the second round and these guys are available, feels like all of these guys will be available in the second round. Darnell Washington's your maybe. Josh Downs, if he really impressed somebody in interviews or workouts, and sure. But outside of that, it feels like a second round conversation for this question specifically.
Yeah. And he attached getting Avila or Robinson. So interesting that he attached Rob, because if you get Robinson, then Spears and Bigsby are out the question. So now it comes down to the explosive guy in downs, the mammoth of a tight end in Washington, or kind of the do it all ish Rashee Rice.
Yeah, fair. I'm just definitely not taking Rashee Rice. Not like personally, I'm not taking him before the third. Not that he makes it that far, but just me myself, I wouldn't take him before that. If you had to go wide receiver, then it's Downs. But I mean, the obvious pick there is Washington for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think if Washington's still on the board at 58 and you've done that, I mean, I don't even know how to think that much about
it. Yeah. But actually, just while I got you, the reason I called in was where would be the biggest concern? Let's say they go all offense this year for whatever reason. I'm not saying that they will or they won't, but let's just assume that they are. If they go all offense, what would be the biggest point of concern with the defense in your opinion, and vice versa? Let's say they go all defense for whatever reason. They shouldn't, but let's say they did.
Doing that.
But they get the guard at least to address that. Then what would be the biggest concern after that?
Where do you want me to start at? If they go all offense, but the biggest concern is defensively?
Yes, sir.
Be depth at linebacker. Again, I don't trust that LVE is going to remain healthy this year, and also don't trust that he's going to play at a high level consistently. If it's one thing that I've noticed with LVE over the last couple of years is there's a point in time, a stretch where we're like, hey man, LVE, we need you to boom, 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 boom. Or it's like, hey man, he's hurt again. One of those two things feels like it's going to happen with LVE. So I really don't trust the depth at linebacker if they were to go all offense and not address a young linebacker to throw into the room. However, though, DJ, I'm kind of looking to give me a veteran backer, but that's neither here nor there. I guess you can also say maybe depth at the defensive tackle position, specifically one tech, because you don't have anybody behind Jonathan Hankins. But those would be it for me from a defensive standpoint. Offensively, if they were to address linebacker, defensive tackle, corner, whatever, right? I would say obviously guard. Or are you saying if they draft a guard?
Yeah, they at least draft a guard, right? Because that's so egregious. That'd be what was it? Mismanagement. However you like, you're perfect at that. Yeah. That's what you do. But that would be egregious not to address that. So they're at least addressing that, not to be just dumb. Let's say that.
Yeah. Still would be probably depth at O-line. All right. I would still add as much young talent for the depth at O-line. Tyron's not going to be here after next year. You don't really have a ton of interior depth either. Tyler B. Oddish might not be here after next year. So I would say continue to add depth. Now, if you grab a guy early in the draft and guard, you probably can wait to day 3 to add some more depth to develop. But that's all I could think about. I mean, I like the tight end room. Maybe they get a tight end in day 2 or 3 to add to that. The wide receiver room, I think, is pretty much what it's going to be for the next 2 years. Maybe you add another depth guy there. But, I feel like the core pieces are there. Just the offensive line, you want to make sure you shore up for the future, I think.
Well, Sky, that's why you're my guy. That's why you're my dude, because I asked that for a particular reason. The defensive side, because 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say defensive tackle, right? But because you are who you are, and you've said it in the past, you said linebacker. And I think that's why I don't want to take the likes of Drew Sanders in the first or Trenton Simpson in the second, different dude like those guys, because linebacker has not really been a focal point. Not so much with you, right? Not you, but them. With what everybody's talking about, it's all about the trenches and doing all that, which you have to address that, right? Because off-ball linebacker is not a Power 5 position. But for the way that Dan Quinn does his defense, I think it's super important because he gets the big guys up front. We got to have guys that are downhill linebackers that are willing to get those stops that aren't 5, 10, 15 yards down the field like LVE's was last year.
Nope, you're 100% right, man. And it'd be nice if they could hit on another. I'm gonna use the example of Anthony Hitchens. It'd be nice if they can hit on an Anthony Hitchens. It's been since Anthony Hitchens that the Cowboys have, gotten a quality starting linebacker, day 3 of the draft type of situation, or, in those mid rounds. Obviously, Micah Parsons and LVE are your top 2 guys. We're hoping Damone Clark, right? It turns into that guy. But I don't think Damone Clark is enough to supplement if you lose an LVE, or if LVE is not playing well. I think you need to add more. And I know we'll get a Devin Harper. I know we got Jabril, but I think you need to add more talent to that room, more competition to that room, because one injury, bro, it can get real dicey.
Yeah, man, it'd be nice. I mean, we've had the top 3 to 5 pass rusher. We've had the top 3 to 5 corner. I would like to get the top 3 to 5 at other positions. It'd be nice. Just hit on somebody all of a sudden, hey, they're in conversation for All-Pro or a Pro Bowl or whatever it may be.
If you get what round was Fred drafted? Wasn't Fred Warner like a 3rd round or something like that? If you could get yourself a Fred Warner, in the 3rd or 4th round, that'd be fantastic. The Cowboys haven't done that at that position. I don't know, man. Not in my time.
But I mean, he was more of a Will. Like, he was Will, so he wasn't really a Mike.
Well, I'm just saying. But think about it. The Cowboys don't have anybody at the back position like that. I don't care if it's a Will, Mike, Sam. They don't have one of them ones at the linebacker position. And I'm not counting Micah, because Micah's essentially a pass rusher now. So, look, if you run into a Will linebacker that happens to be like that, then so be it.
Yeah, man. I mean, for sure, because that's why we want an edge rusher so much, right? So we can put Micah back at it, because he automatically becomes top 5 at the position if you put him there. If you leave him and he gets the majority of his snaps at linebacker, he's automatically. That's why we want another edge rusher, so we can utilize that, and then still move around and use him as a weapon. But still, I digress. I've been on here long enough, man. I'll let you get back to it.
So appreciate you, big dog.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think Mike would. I think he is elite at the position. A lot of people rush him. That's fine. I think he's a fantastic rusher, obviously, too. One of the best in the league. I think Micah can be the best at both of those positions because he's like that, But it's clear, at least from what we see now, the vision is him to play more of that edge rusher role. So I think you got to get better guys at that second level. Again, I'm looking at LV's contract. I understand Dan Quinn likes LV. He's the quarterback, and 2 years, $8 million. 5, by the way, guaranteed. So it ain't even 2 years, 2 years, $5 million guaranteed. I don't even think they believe in LVE long term. Not even long term. They look at LVE as a stopgap. The numbers say it. That looks like to me, hey, look. All right, cool. We got a linebacker. If something falls to us, we'll take it. If not, we can go out and play some football right now. But I don't think they view LVE as that guy moving forward, past a year or two. So Cowboys are telling you linebacker is Drew Sanders, Trent Simpson, linebacker in play, man. Linebackers in play. Don't be surprised if linebackers are picked in the first day or two. Just saying. All right, let's get to a couple more of these. Sean Lee was a fantastic player, man. I was watching highlights of Sean Lee the other day. I think it was last week. Gosh, he'd be a beast in this. 908, what's up?
Hey, what's good?
Good morning, man. How are you?
Good. So I'm Jesse from New Jersey. I just wanted to cover a couple of draft stuff you've been talking about over the past few minutes. First of all, Darnell Washington at 58 is absurd. There's no chance. He might get to 26, but that guy, if we put him in our tight end room, it'll change the run game for us. And then, you eventually hope Rice in the 3rd round. I think they got him right in the 3rd round, the caller prior to me. And then Will McDonald. So the conversation with Foskey was crazy to me because Foskey, there's no chance. That's not the guy you should be talking about at 26. That's the guy you should hope the Eagles take at 30. Because for some reason I see him mocked to the Eagles at 30, but
I've been seeing weird mocks for the Eagles.
Guy.
I've seen a handful of mocks that have the Eagles taking 2 defensive ends, which is wild, but hey, not my problem.
Yeah, because they got Reddick and all those guys too. So
yeah, Reddick and Sweat. I mean, why are you mocking 2 edge rushers to them dudes? That doesn't make any sense. But again, that's Philly.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, and then so Will McDonald is definitely worth the 26th overall pick. I have a second-round grade on him personally, but he has every trait you'd want an edge rusher. There's some questions about the motor, I think, but as far as, being a valuable pick at 26, you can take him at 26. The edge that I don't think is getting enough hype is Ojulari from LSU.
So we had
he has everything you.
We had. Did you watch our show with Foots the King?
No.
Okay, so you want to go back and check that out. Man. He talked up Ojulari. He talked him up is what I'm saying. We actually brought Ojulari up on the show as one of his, I think it was 7 guys to watch out for from an edge rusher standpoint. So, Ojulari is probably one of the more slept on guys that's not getting a lot of the love from an edge rush position.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got everything you want in an edge rusher: the size, the athleticism. He can drop back in coverage. I see a little Micah Parsons in him. Not Micah Parsons. He doesn't have nearly the explosiveness or the ability. He processes really late in the run game. That's the one knock that I have on him. I think that he's going to need to get better processing the run game. But once he figures that out, I think he'll become a really good player. Now, I want to ask you, because the more and more I look at this, I think the Cowboys have their heart set on Avila at 26.
I feel like that.
Yeah, because, well, first of all, you just mentioned the thing with the Oddish, the expiring contract. I think they like that they could maybe move Avila to center next year. Similarly to what they wanted to do with Tyler Smith last year, moving him to tackle.
Funny thing, man. I've been talking about John Michael Schmitz as kind of that guy I think that adds a lot of value because he can play center if Tyler doesn't get re-signed. But you're right, man. I don't think I've done enough talking about how Avila also could play center. I know Danny's brought it up a ton, but if they look at Avila as a guy that can slide over to center, and let's say, I mean, look, we just having fun. Let's say they take an Avila and then Mafi's there in the 4th round and they look at it as, hey, look, man, Mafi can be, either A, your left guard replacement the next year, or B, Tyler Biadasz, or not Tyler Biadasz, but Zach Martin replacement. Now you're talking about a ridiculously, that'd be fun. We're just having some fun with that one. But nonetheless, man, if they do view Avila as position flex, I think you 100% now view him as he was already a 26 option. Don't get me wrong. Second round graded guy for me, but again, we're talking 26, right? So you're going to get a second round guy anyway.
Yeah, I have him in the 3rd round myself, but I just think the Cowboys, they've got their heart set on him at 26.
Well, look, so look, if much like Tyler Smith, okay, look, Tyler Smith last year when the pick was made, I said, okay,
absolutely,
it was a position of need, number one. However, if he is viewed as a left tackle guy, you absolutely have to vault his value way up because left tackle obviously is more valuable than guard, right? So if Avila is looked at as a position flex, a guy that can come in right now, play left guard, and then if Tyler leaves, he can play center. Oh, it's a no-brainer that he becomes one of your top interior prospects and shoots up the list. So, I mean, it's a good point.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got that playing in his favor. You mentioned Michael Schmitz. You think that we could play him at guard or no?
He a little light, but I like his fight. I think that, and I'm just guessing here, man. I think Solari is going to have these guys on the move this year. Now, I know they're looking into a Mafi, and Mafi's more power, and Mike Solari has some power background, but I think we'll see a lot of combinations where they want to get guys on the move. So I think he does. However, if Schmitz was a guy that was drafted, I think you could say bye-bye to Tyler Biadasz. I think that's really where we're going.
That's he's the center in 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks for having me on the show. It's fun to talk some draft. Have a good day.
Great call, man. Appreciate you, big dog. Yeah, he brought something up about the Avila that I probably should have talked about more. I've been all on this Michael Schmitz thing in regards to center guard. But man, look, if Avila is looked at that way, right? If he is looked at as position flex to be able to slide in and play a center, he's probably the Cowboys' number one interior guy. Probably the Cowboys' number one. Get ready, Get ready. Pro Bowl Tyler Biadasz, right? Which good for Tyler Biadasz, but probably not good for the Cowboys because he's going to go into these negotiations and be like, hey, look, you can't just call me Tyler Biadasz no more. I'm Pro Bowl Tyler Biadasz. That price just went up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Do I got my drop? I don't got the button. I'll flag fine. All right, let's get Reek 832 and 423. What's good, Reek?
What's going on?
What's
going on, Sky? What's going on, Cowboy Nation? The way I look at this draft is that the Cowboys kind of put themselves in a good position this year to really draft anybody that falls to them that has some value in that first round. And my thing is, by the Dolphins not having their first round pick, that just pushes somebody up down the board to us. I don't know. My biggest thing is I think offensive line. If we strengthen up the offensive line, that'll be I think that'll be a great thing. But other than that, if somebody just falls to us at 26 that we just cannot pass on, I don't know what position. I really don't care what position it is. But if it's just somebody that we just can't pass on, that we really project to be real good a couple years from now, or just a plug and play guy, we got to put him on this team. We just got to do it and just figure everything else out in the later rounds. The other rounds.
Yeah. That's the beauty of what they did this offseason. They put themselves in position, quite specifically. They put themselves in a position where even if they don't get their flashing red light position, which is guard, it's a position that I think you can get in day two, of the draft and plug them and be fine. So they are technically in a spot where, even if it's a corner or receiver, if they feel like that guy is a can't miss, they can take them because the guard or the DT or whatever in the second or third round, they can grab that and those guys can be either plug and play because it's a guard or part of a rotation. So you're right, man. They put themselves in great position to take BPA per need and they can kind of refocus what their need is. It may not be need in 2023. Maybe they look at it as a glaring 2024 need, and they can kind of move them along slowly this upcoming season.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to say too to the fans, to us, like a lot of the fans, is that we got to remember we had 4 teams in the playoff race in our own division last year. Washington just fell off at the end of the year. But we have to remember this, too. We have to build for this division before we can build for other people, because I think people like Washington is going to be better than it was last year because they smoked our boots last year. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. At the end of the year, even though I know we really didn't have nothing to play for, we was already in. But I still look at it.
You taking that as
like this?
You ain't taking that.
The reason I say
serious,
that,
man.
the reason I say that, Sky, is that they're a quarterback away. They got a pretty decent roster. They're a quarterback away. Then one of their star players, he's coming back into the fold on that defensive line. So that's why I'm saying defensive line has to be. Offensive line has to be a priority for us this year because that's a lot of power up there on that defensive line.
I can't let you do this, man, bro.
Well, that's my opinion.
Washington, man, they garbage. What are you talking about?
But we gotta be realistic about this. If they get a quarterback, they got 3 good receivers on that team.
I've been hearing that since 1991. If they get a quarterback,
I understand that guy.
So a rookie quarterback gonna come in here and make Washington what?
Why does it have to be a rookie quarterback? But why does it have to be a rookie quarterback? How do we know we're not going? How do we know they're not in play to get somebody like Lamar? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. I'm just putting it out there, bro. But I'm not gonna say that you're right or I'm wrong. But I'm gonna say it like this: we have to build for our division because our division has gotten better and the NFC is wide open. So I just want our team to get stronger.
So which is it, the NFC or the division? Look, man, look. You're not saying anything that's groundbreaking here. Most teams build to win their division, right? That's you're not saying
That's
anything groundbreaking. That's what people do. But at the end of the day, and I'm sounding like Stephen Jones here, who is the team you lost to in the playoffs the last 2 years?
It's 49ers.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
It's 49ers. It's
What
49ers.
what is Dak Prescott's record against the Eagles?
8-3.
Okay. When was the last time that Dak Prescott led Cowboys team lost to the Giants?
Oh yeah, we ain't losing no damn Giants. Like
Right.
that.
Cooper Rush led Cowboys beat the Giants, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
Right. Washington is always going to be a fight because of the division, but I'm not freaking worried about no dang on Washington. So what I'm getting at is, look, man, yes, we always want to strive to win a division, right? But look, man, the Eagles put themselves up there now, so I'll include the Eagles. But me personally, over the last number of years, I was never looking at our division as the standard. I'm looking at, we got to beat Green Bay. We got to go beat Tampa. We got to go beat the Saints, or we got to go beat the Niners, the teams that were representing the Rams, representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, maybe I'm being a bit disrespectful to the division, whatever, man. But the last two playoff exits wasn't because of the division. It was because we lost to teams that were built better than the Cowboys or coached better than the Cowboys in regards to the San Francisco 49ers, or the LA Rams. So, me personally, my sights are set a little bit higher. But I will say that Philly, because they're in division, they went to the Super Bowl, I will include them in that. So Philly is up there because they did go to the Super Bowl. I'll give you that, dog. But look, man, I feel very confident the Cowboys can handle business in the division. And maybe that's me being a bit arrogant, but it is what it is.
Yeah, because the only thing I'm saying is I give them a little bit of leeway because I really believe they're the only team that didn't have a good quarterback that beat both our teams, to beat Philly and to beat us. You know what I mean? They beat Philly in the beginning of the season. So the reason I'm saying that, I think they're a quarterback away from being a contender as far as giving us a little run for our money a little bit in that division. They're missing a quarterback. You know what I mean? And the rest of us, we got quarterbacks. We got Dak. We got Hurts over with the Eagles. Danny Dimes is okay. But that, to me, I feel like that's the only team in the division that just need a quarterback, and they're going to be right there with us a little bit. But I'm gonna go up. I believe what you're saying, Sky. But I'm just looking at it from the outside the box a little bit, bro. That's it, man. I'm not saying that they're gonna be better than us, but I don't believe that at all. But I'm like, there's certain teams that just need a quarterback and they can do something. But we'll see. It's still early. It's real early. But that's all I gotta say, man. I'm up out of here.
Salute.
Peace.
Washington, I can see if he was talking about Philly. Look, man, Washington going to be tough. They're always tough. Ron Rivera is going to coach them tough. Ron Rivera's a head coach, by the way. He's got like 2 winning seasons. And you said it yourself. They need a quarterback. Well, I'm worried about a team that need a quarterback. So your scenario is, well, what if they get Lamar? What if we get DeAndre Hopkins? Yeah, can't worry about no Washington. I will look. Washington's gonna be a tough opponent. They'll bang with us, whatever. Philly, okay, The Giants, they'll be division opponents. Always tough. I give them a lot of credit. I actually respect them way more than I respect that franchise in Washington. But my sights, man, and like you said, I'll agree with this. The NFC is not deep this year, but when it was, that's where my sights were set on. My sights were, hey, we got to get through the Green Bays of the world. We're trying to get through the Rams of the world, the Bucks, the Saints when they had the Drew Breeses and whatnot, the Niners. That's where I was looking at. Our division has historically been a very middling division. Now, because they've not historically, over the last decade or so, now they've added a 7th team to the mix. It looks great, right? The Giants made the playoffs at 9-8. Okay. And they won a playoff game. They beat the whack-ass Vikings. All right, cool. But the Giants don't scare me. Washington don't scare me. Philly is who we're competing with, in my opinion, in this division. And if you're competing with Philly, you're likely competing for the NFC. So, because of the Packers aren't going to be what they are. The Bucks aren't going to be what they are. The Saints they're not the same team. The Cowboys, Philly, maybe the Rams could be sneaky this year. Who knows? And the Niners are kind of the class of the NFC right now, man. Maybe I'm just sticking my chest out a little bit because what the Cowboys have done compared to with those other teams, that team specifically, man. 832, what it do?
Hey, good morning, Skywalker. How you doing, sir?
What's up with you, man? I'm good. How you?
Hey, man, yeah, good to talk to you again. Good morning to everybody. Hey, man, I'm going to say what I got to say and get off real quick. Taking everything into account, with the Cowboys offseason, which has been great thus far, and, everything. Let me get an idea of what you're thinking in a hypothetical. We're going to also allow for the fact that because the Cowboys draft so well, they're going to hit something in the first 3 rounds. They can't make a mistake with whatever way they're going to after the first 3 rounds. Do you think it's difficult for them to really do anything from a skill position on the offensive side to make a decision about a skilled player because they really aren't sure what kind of offense they're going to run or what kind of offensive philosophy they're going to run? We got some experience with Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer. We kind of get a idea of what kind of games those guys like to play, what kind of games they like to call and stuff like that. But I kind of want your thoughts on whether or not, even with the Cowboys doing their due diligence, with these 30 visits and all the angles we take it and stuff like that. Do you think it's hard for them to really gauge what a skilled player can mean to their offense? Because when the Cowboys are going to be drafting, there's going to be marginal differences, in talent wherever they pick. There's not going to be anybody that's so markedly better than the next guy that, you're going to notice a difference unless, there's just some ridiculous bad draft done by other teams. But
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out at the very end.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think I got the gist of your question. Are you saying can you ask your question? Just ask your question as opposed to explain.
Yeah, I'm going to ask my question. Do you think it's difficult for the Cowboys to kind of hone in on a skilled player, particularly on the offensive side, because they really aren't sure how they're going to go about playing offense this season? And I'll let you talk about it.
So I don't think it'd be difficult because I think they are sure. I would be shocked if they were this late into their draft boards and their draft research and they don't have an idea of the specific skill player that they want for their offense. McCarthy and Schottenheimer, they know what they want to run. I think McCarthy knew what he wanted to run since he got here, but he couldn't do it because, the smartest guy in the room, Kellen Moore, was the offensive coordinator. So I think he has a plan. Right. I think he has an idea, and I think you can kind of see it, right? Like you can kind of see the guys that they're bringing in. That where we talked about the height factor, the explosive factor. Like they're not afraid of those type of guys anymore. So I think they have a plan. Do we know what the plan is? Probably not right now, but they have a plan. I think, and I think, like you said, whoever they draft in the first round, I'll have confidence in. They've given you confidence over the last decade that whoever they take in the first round, they'll hit on. After that, once you get the second and third round, it kind of becomes up and down. But I think they got a plan, man. I think they're pretty comfortable with knowing who they want from a skill position standpoint. You break. You're breaking up, man. I couldn't hear you, man. Appreciate the call.
Okay.
Man, Reek, look, bro, ain't nobody scared of no goddamn Washington football people. Why you up in here talking these dudes up because they played us tough and we lost to them? Man, get out of here with that, Reek. You really in here? But did we lose to a rookie quarterback with our starters in the game? Philly lost to a backup quarterback and went to the Super Bowl. You taking one game and running with it? Miss me with that BS, fam. Miss me with that BS. Will, has I discussed Mike Mart's video? Nah, but that was a fantastic video. I don't think you want me to discuss that. You probably don't like Mike Martz's breakdown on that video. Mike Martz, I believe, designated like 5 interceptions to Dak Prescott. I think it was a little more than that in that video, but that's a great video. Pretty much echoes a lot of what Kurt Warner has been saying, but from a coach's standpoint, a play caller standpoint, a little bit dull. It wasn't as entertaining as Kurt Warner or Derek Carr's breakdown for that matter. But no, I mean, yeah, check that out if you haven't watched it. 33rd group or something like that. Whatever it's called. My bad for the organization, but yeah, type in Mike Martz, Dak Prescott, you'll find it. Fantastic breakdown. Talks about, he pretty much is, I mean, he rails on Michael Gallup in that video. He doesn't really go in like Warner does when he talks about scheme. He basically is like, is it Dak or is it the receiver for most of that part? You can hear him sometimes say this, I don't know what this design is, but he kind of was really quick with it. But really good stuff. I liked it a lot. Also, he put 8. So that's about where I would have had it. So he put 8 of the 17 on Martz, which is it. That's about fair. And but again, we could do that with so many quarterbacks, but 8 of the 17, that's wild. When you think that 9 interceptions, come from either terrible routes or drop passes or things like that or whatever concept. So, but neither here nor there. If you want to go and check it out from a Super Bowl winning head coach that's pretty much echoing a lot of what we were talking about last year from a receiver and schematic standpoint, add Mike Martz to the list. We're not crazy. Will said he liked the fact that he didn't blame everyone for all 17. I don't think anyone's blaming everyone else for all 17 interceptions. I mean, but I know where your standpoint is. So I know you're very hyperbole here and how you feel about Dak Prescott and everything. But, I'm shocked that you actually are recommending watching that because Mike Martz is actually in favor of what we've been saying all season, but kudos to you. That's growth. That's what we call growth, Will Burney. 208. What it is, what it do.
The conference has been locked.
This Jamal from the Greatness blog, my brother. How you been?
What's good, Jamal? I'm doing great, man. My bad. I'm sorry to push this, but 208 and 720, y'all got to be real quick, man. I forgot I got to do something at 10 o'clock.
You good, brother? I just had this quick question because ever since we talked about that Jalen Carter situation, it's kind of picked up a little bit of steam, Skywalker. There's been multiple people reporting that this dude, well, you saw the reports about him not meeting with the top 10, and I saw you and Botch talk about that.
The Raiders, not meeting with the Raiders. Yeah.
Yeah. This dude is doing, his agency is doing him a disservice. And what I'm calling to say is I feel like this. I still stand on it. I feel like that kid is going to slide. And if he's there, you obviously know Dallas is turning in that card. If not, I honestly see Dallas getting their 4th receiver in the first round. I'm just going over their top 30 visits. My dude, they have, I think, 13. I believe it was 13 receivers that they've just worked out this offseason. I don't know how many they have on the list, but I'm pretty sure their receivers numbers was more than any other position on there outside of linebacker. They have linebacker and receiver, and then it was receiver, linebacker, and then tight end was how I broke it down. But I feel like Dallas is going to grab their 4th receiver in that first round. And I believe that that's the best available athlete at this point. I mean, I don't really see any tackles working.
We have no idea who the best available player is going to be yet, brother. We picked so far down, but they brought in a couple receivers that I looked at as day 1 or day 2 guys. So they're that's going to be an option for sure. But I got to get going, man. That was a bit longer than I expected. Appreciate the call. 720. Right, be quick. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Just had a quick question. Do you think the Cowboys are too dependent on Micah Parsons being the person to create pressure? I feel like he needs some support in that area. No one else on the D-line really can get through without Micah, making the quarterback step in the pocket. And I'm gonna go ahead and get off. Thank you.
It's a great question. Great question. I would say this: they might have been too dependent on Micah being their juice guy off the edge. I think Sam Williams could help more with that, so maybe Sam gets integrated a little bit more. But Micah was, I think, asked too much to be that guy that popped off the screen and popped to get the quarterback, and that's why you saw Dorrance Armstrong kind of getting a lot of cleanup sacks at one point. The interior guys aren't really. I know Osa had like 4 sacks or what have you, but they're not really asked to do that. So it's an interesting question. I think you can go a different way about it. Is he being asked to do it all by himself? No. I think we're deep at the defensive end room. But there aren't, like, Dante Fowler brings juice, but Dante Fowler's not playing 25, 30 snaps. Sam brings juice. Maybe Sam needs to play 25, 30 snaps. But Micah was playing 70, 75% of snaps. And so that's fair to say maybe he was asked to bring the juice too much. Maybe. Yeah. Hey, got to get out of here. But before I do, wouldn't be a show if I didn't tell you about Boston Scientific. Look, if you're one of 39 million men that suffer from ED, hit up Boston Scientific, edcure.org. Take the quiz, learn the severity and the risk, and they will let you know where to go to find help. All right? Again, that's edcure.org, brought to you by Boston Scientific. Hate that this has to be a hard out, but I got to talk to the doc. We're going to talk about Brandon Cooks, probably Ronald Jones. There's a couple of injuries I want to get to, so make sure I look out for that later on in the week. Man, I hate hard outs. I really do. But appreciate y'all for being here. I will see y'all later on Vach's show about 3:16-ish. Make sure y'all come through, man. I'm going to get up out of here, press this button, and be gone. Love you. Peace.